Hey guys, welcome to Idea Sex Live. We're talking about the nature of consciousness on a societal level. I was talking about, and you can go back and have a look at the video from yesterday that talks about what is consciousness like on an individual level, and there's a lot of thought experiments and actual experiments that have been done that suggest that we are actually one, or at least we're both one and separate at the same time, which is my current belief. So welcome, Charlie, to the cast. Good to see you here, man. And so essentially, I've been tapping into a lot of Russell Brand's thought stream and his juice that he just flows with sometimes. And I've got some notes from that, and I kind of want to riff off that, as well as hear your thoughts around what is the nature of consciousness on a societal level. This whole idea of materialism and consumerism, it really doesn't suggest that we're one. It really empowers us to better the Joneses. It tells us that we have to be our own person and not rely on anyone and not be supported by anyone. And they're very hard things for us to overcome on a societal level. If you're part of a good tribe, a community, maybe a church or a dance group, you'll know what it feels like to actually feel that connectedness. And if you've been out to Rainbow Serpent, heads up if you have done that, hit us up with a yes if you have. You get that experience of the oneness, and it feels natural, it feels kind of right, versus this everyday experience of we're separate and you and I have to compete for whatever it is, time in the space, or money, or all these things that we feel like we have to be in competition with. So the thing is, on a broader sense, on a broader scale, if the dominant mindset is to believe these things, then if we believe that, then we are just individuals, and then why not just screw around all day and just try and acquire as much as we can acquire? It's kind of pointless and nihilistic in the end. And this whole thought of scientism, of basically nothing exists unless you can measure it, right? Or prove it or screw it. This thought process is not leading us down a very healthy track, I must admit, on a broader sense, outside of our bubbles of joy and love. So, the whole concept of scientism, which is defined as an excessive belief in the power of scientific knowledge and techniques, this sort of lack of even considering the mystery. Everything that has become science before was magic, was a mystery, was the unexplainable, until science came along and proved it. So I personally believe that we need to both empirically prove things and at the same time stay open to the unknown, to the new, to see what comes up out of that. So, the other thing is that, consumerism and capitalism are built off the back of this mindset. So we're kind of made to use this system because all other systems are kind of built off the back of it. So what I'm thinking, and what someone like Russell Brand would agree, is there's got to be something more. There's got to be a system that will allow for a decent social structure and still allow us to charge forward as a civilization, but not be at the cost of other people, not be at the cost of other people's love, connection, their well-being, their happiness. We're not really motivated to help people out, really, in the world, whereas we could create systems and a society that actually does that. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and I think it's in Norway. They actually reward you for helping people. They actually reward you financially, and don't correct me, it's an European country, but they reward you financially for helping somebody out, and if you see someone who's in trouble, the government will pay you for that. So that's kind of cool. But that kind of system could be put in place, and still we have society. It still works, right? They still function, mostly, the EU. Bit of a sensitive topic. So, the whole idea of this chronic ecological disrespect we have as humanity, I think a lot of that comes from this fundamental belief that we are individual, and, that we have to look after the individual above everything else, not in alignment with. I'm not saying we should become ridiculously selfless to the point where we don't help anyone, but to the point where we don't help ourselves if we're in trouble. We've got to look after ourselves, but at the same time, if we can do that whilst looking after the whole with more of a macro and, a leveraged thought process, right? The reason why I'm doing Idea Sex, it's half and half. It is half for me, it's half for you guys. I know that, when I hop on these casts and I talk about these things, first off, I have to prep I have to study up. I have to like know that I'm going to be giving you guys value. And then I have to live to the words that I'm preaching, right? I can't not practice what I preach. So I know that's going to have a very cool, deep, personal impact for me. But at the same time, of course, I'm giving this to you guys. I'm offering this up to you guys as an offering, so that, you know, hopefully there's some gold in there for you guys that will help your lives be better as well. So, you know, the whole idea of communism, capitalism, fascism, all these isms, you know, they claim to be different, but the one thing they really do have in common is they don't fully factor in the idea of this whole one is all and all is one. So it's getting a couple of tech difficulties apparently coming through. I will just try and move over to here and see if that helps. It could be just where I am. Hopefully it's better for you guys. So, alrighty. What else have I got here? You know, if this thing's the case, you can never have enough. We can never have enough. If those old isms are the case, then we can never be truly fulfilled. We can never be truly happy, because it's a Moorish kind of thing. And I'll go into why that's still got its pluses. I'm not saying we turn into a hippie commune tomorrow and just, you know, all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. I'm saying that we balance this out, and we find a way to do that, and we'll cover that a little bit later in the video. And I'd love to hear your thoughts if you know, if you have any thoughts around this particular topic. So here we go. You know, there is no avoiding having these pulls or drives, but you know, if we have the focus being on making a difference, it'll be amazing to see what difference that could make for others and for ourselves. I'm just going to keep shuffling around a little bit. Hopefully the connection will get stronger, but it's saying it is weak right now, so I'd love your feedback. So yes, evenly yoked as couples, or just evenly yoked as the world, that we're all equally. I love that equally yoked verse when I used to preach. That was one of my favorite concepts, the whole idea of being equally yoked. But I feel that we can look for the yoke that we have in common with each other. We can look for the common yoke among us all, and that is that we're humans, and that is that we have these drives, but we also have the drive for love. We also have the drive to help. So, yeah, the current system, it does actually kind of bring out this worst part of our nature, this at any cost kind of feeling that we have, and that we're alone, besides maybe our closest family and friends. And just to balance out the conversation a little bit, you know, this whole material progression, it's kind of given us what we are today. We wouldn't have lasted long as primates if we didn't have this drive to move forward, to grow, to upgrade, to do better. And you know, we're having quite a like we can feel it right now. There's a symbiotic connection we have with tech. So, you know, I'm not saying drop it all. Let's not turn Amish. You know, it does ensure innovation. Capitalism does ensure innovation to a degree. So these things are needed. It's just like, how are we going to actually have this thing coalesce with, you know, this other thing that I'm talking about here? So, you know, how do we have this thing of, like, it's almost like we're an electronic caterpillar about to burst into, you know, all these desires are forwarding us towards this electronic, robotic agenda that may end up birthing the next form of consciousness through AI. And I feel that we're going to be on a pathway to that. We already are. Many of us would agree on that. You know, that we're a cocoon as a civilization. So, again, to defend that point of you know, the importance of capitalism and drive and ego, you know, all these ego traps we get in of, like, wanting to look good, because there's also that, right? Like, of course, I'm posting on here, I get to see how many 100 people check out my reasonably chiseled face. Like, there's an ego drive there in me to do this productive output, so it's important. And it does ensure that we move towards a higher state or a more complicated state of consciousness as a whole. So really, if I was to categorize them both, I love how they worded this. The materialization of a super consciousness through technology versus the realization amongst us as a species of our inherent lower G godhood, right? And so I think both of them are co-arising. I think they're both at play. Great quote by Bill Hicks is, "We can explore inner space and outer space together in peace." And yes, we can definitely do that. So, to round out the conversation, and if there's any questions or comments, please make them down below. Human beings, I believe, are born to be glorious. We are on a definite pathway towards this gloriousness and this awakening of such a beautiful creature called an evolved humanity. But we need to have this. We need to have both of the biases towards accumulation and ego, and whilst not forgetting and ignoring, consciousness, that ignoring that consciousness will actually impact that gloriousness. There's people who just want to charge forward with tech and not worry about love. Like, the kind of glory you're going to see is a very dark, morbid future, potentially. So, what can we do? Shout out to Jonathan Blaze. He riffed on me with this today. We don't have the technological power of Anonymous or the influence of politicians or celebrities. But what we can do is that, we can do our bit. We can do our bit for ourselves, our families. Look, I honor people who go out of their way to protest things and try and make a change through waving banners and stuff. I don't personally do it because, the powers that be have a lot more power than a bunch of people standing up. Maybe if a whole city did it, yeah, but they're going to keep it at a comfortable level so that only the people who are really, really sensitive or empathetic to certain issues are going to bother complaining, and then they'll just be able to give you a little bit, so you're happy enough, and there's enough people not complaining. So the world will still keep going. It's just that everyone needs to change. Everyone needs to raise their level of consciousness, and if you want to look at that, check out my last video. I go into quite a bit of detail about how we can start to raise our... Okay, here we go back. So, to put it one other way and to finish off this cast, I love your faces, take care, looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow, and we should encourage us to live the way the world should be, to show it what it can be. Farewell.